Good morning. I'm Carlton Sharp, pastor of Faith Christian Center Church, right here in the beautiful city of Beaumont, Texas. And we're here today to talk about what's happening in our neighborhood. Today I am so pleased to have Mr. Carlos Hernandez with Carlito's Mexican restaurant right here in Beaumont, Texas. Good morning, Carlos.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm doing fine, Pastor.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, I'm Carlos Hernandez, and I was born and raised here in Beaumont, Texas. I operate and own a successful restaurant in the Avenue.
Okay.
We're pleased to be a part of Beaumont and be the fabric of Beaumont, and we try to help where we can.
Now, one of the things that's very interesting is you grew up here in Beaumont.
That's correct.
And you went to BC.
I was a graduate of BCP, class of '83. I went to my elementary days. I was at Fletcher Elementary, and then I went on to David Crockett.
Wow.
And then I went on to graduate from BCP.
So Carlos, what caused you to want to start a restaurant?
Well, just, being in that industry for a while, and then seeing, the hard work, and then, kind of the pie, so to speak, and then what you make out of that piece of pie. And I just thought that it was my time to move on and have my own.
Now, one of the things that you shared with me is that you had this dream about being successful in business and not just being a employee.
Sure. True leaders I feel are born within themselves. And so, you got to have followers along with leaders. You have to have workers and owners. And I just always felt I could be that owner. I had a good product. I knew I was born and raised here. I knew I had a lot of friends. And so that was probably the starting foundation that moved me on into me wanting to open up my own restaurant.
So let's talk about in the early days of your restaurant on how did you get started? What did you have to do in order to become successful?
Basically what I did was I really didn't have any money, but I had a strong faith, and I realized that if I put my best foot forward and kept everything simple, I could make this work. Of course, money is going to be an objective to everything, but you have to have your idea and your direction. And so what I did was I sought out a place that was on the corner of a block where I lived, and it just so happened that the gentleman that was there used to have a barbecue place. And he just, in a business, you're married to it. And he just didn't want to stay married to it. And so we sat down and we had some talks, and he kind of gave me a break. I probably had total $10,000 to my name to start this. But I was a little, leery. I just felt like if I got 2 weeks behind me, I'd be good. And I never forget, I went to a banker, G.A. Wimberly, and I had to find somebody that was around my age, that could understand what I was trying to do in a business plan. And I basically said, look, I need some money, and I just want some backup. And he told me, he says, well, okay, well, what do you need? And I said, well, at that time I was kind of leery, and I just told him, well, maybe $3,000. And he kind of chuckled and laughed. And he said, that's all? He said, hey, you got that now. So we started and opened, and I didn't have to get that money.
Wow.
But it was there. It was just having to know that in case I got hit or I needed that, I could go back and get it. And so we've continued to be with Community Bank for all these years.
Now, something very interesting you just said, which I find a biblical principle in, about sitting down and counting the cost. In Luke chapter 14, it says, for which of you intended to build a tower or a restaurant, sit it not down first and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it. So you actually had your game plan together before you presented it to the bank that, hey, this is what I wanted to do.
Sure. And that wasn't the only bank. When you're in any type of business, you so-called have your friends, but then you really find out whenever you go to a friend.
Yeah.
And I found out in my situation that there was a big age gap between who I was talking to and then who could understand my dream.
Mm-hmm.
So, real quickly I realized after 2 or 3 business talks that I needed to find somebody who was around my age that could understand my dream or could see why I was so, I was going to do this.
Right.
And so that's when I sought out G.A. Wimberly.
So if what advice would you give to a young entrepreneur who wanted to start their own business and just remembering what you had to go through at the beginning of your business?
Well, never give up. That's a lot of places stop. They stop their dreams because they feel like it's going to be too hard. I always tell everybody, when they see the storm, everybody gets scared.
Right.
But sometimes if you go into the storm,
that's why the peace at.
the peace and the good Lord there is waiting on you.
Yeah.
So you need to go through that storm, and it makes you grow as a person. And so I've always been, when I'm not going to fear anything.
Yeah.
But if you're going to, address it and you're going to stay truthful to yourself, you need to do that. You need to, be hardcore about it. Don't give up. Don't take no for an answer. Somebody will hear you. And, that's what I tell anybody. I mean, now it's kind of a bit harder now in this day and time because, you got to get that degree.
Right.
I look back, and I think now I should have went to college. But then again, I can always look back and say I was self-made.
Yeah.
And I did it with ambition and a dream and focus.
Now, one of the things also I see that you do is that you are community-oriented. You do a lot of things in the community to help the young people. So tell us some of the things that you do in our community that really helps the young people.
Well, we do a lot with SOC,
Okay.
Reverend JD's deal. We do
Save Our Children.
Save Our Children.
Yes.
He does a wonderful job with those kids. He kind of, I think what always made me look at JD was he took kids that nobody really wanted to deal with. And I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Especially coming up in them avenues. You kind of get those ones that's the bad core, but you have to address that.
Right.
You can't just let them go.
Right.
And so me and JD got to do some talking together, and we've been able to work on some things that benefits the kids as well, and I get a kick out of it too because I feel like some of these kids, if they didn't get into these summer programs, and I could bring some breakfast. A lot of them kids don't even get breakfast.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, because you think, this day and time, it is still this way. And so a little bit that we can do to help, that's my pleasure.
And not only does it benefit the community, but it also benefits you because there's a principle that when you give, it shall be given back to you.
Sure, it's a good feeling.
Yeah, it really is. Now, so tell us a little bit about your business. What do you do at Carlito's? I know that you cater. You have weddings? You do weddings and
yeah,
things?
we do in-house. We have our regular specials. We have daily specials. We have lunch specials. We have breakfast. We open up at 7, and that'll take us through our lunch. One thing with us is we're more or less customer orientated. If you came in at 7 o'clock and said, I want some huevos ranchero or breakfast, we'd make it for you.
Wow.
And a lot of restaurants, they're kind of on that protocol where this is breakfast, we don't do that
Yeah,
anymore.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we try to always lean towards our customer, our patrons, giving them what they want. We're a mom and pop. So what makes us different from some of your major chains is that we can do that, and we don't have a problem. If we have a concoction that we want to go back and we think of, we can go back in the kitchen and make it.
Wow.
Whereas big restaurants, chain restaurants, corporate restaurants, they can't do that.
Right.
They got to pull it out. They got to market it. They have to have a strategy behind it. They have to drop it in certain markets. So that's where we have them.
So you just go back to the kitchen and say, well,
That's
let's just try to put something together right here.
I laugh all the time because you see Taco Bell come out with all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shoot, we've been doing that forever.
Yeah,
we just didn't market it that way, but they ain't got nothing on us.
Yeah. So you just put everything together. Let's try this time.
That's right. And we put it out there on the tables. We let the customers tell us what they feel about it. We do a bunch of catering, whether it's weddings or rehearsals or baby showers or reunions, or if you just want to get together and have a few people over, we do that too.
Wow. So you also do corporate events?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I do a lot with ExxonMobil.
Okay.
I do a lot with hospitals, a lot with doctors' offices, a lot with pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
So that's a market that we're very comfortable in. We're always critiquing our menus for our pharmaceutical reps. Seems like every year that their budgets get cut and slashed,
Yeah.
But you got to give them something. We sell an enormous amount of breakfast burritos because that takes the place of that kolache or that donut.
Yeah.
That everybody gets. And so this is something that we make different varieties, potato and egg, American sausage and egg.
Yeah.
chorizo
Now
and egg.
you about to make me hungry in here. Now, because I was going to ask you, what would you say is the favorite dish? If someone who was not familiar with the Mexican restaurant,
Sure.
what would be the favorite dish if they want to come to your restaurant right now?
Well, my favorite dinner is taco sacabon.
Okay.
And that's beef skirt that's tenderized and marinated.
Oh, man.
Sauteed bell peppers and onions.
Oh,
You
Carlos.
get the guy some guacamole. But, and I think if you move to a dinner where you wanted, a course of enchilada, tamales, rice, beans, chalupa, chili con queso, chip, guacamole.
Wow.
That would be a filling dinner. But it's something that is going to fill you up. When you come to our restaurant, you're going to leave full. And you go to so many of these other restaurants, and when you leave,
Yeah.
you're still hungry.
Yeah.
Or they give you a bunch of, French fries or some salad, and you're like, I paid all this money. But the one thing that I do think about is that whenever we gear ourselves towards the customer, and we can't forget about the man who's got a family of 8,
Right,
6,
right.
The woman that's has the same thing. That there's so many restaurants they can't go to.
Right.
That's why they're always at Mickey
Outpriced,
D's,
yeah.
or because they can't afford to take them kids, much less a Papados. You take 6 people inside Papados, you 200 plus.
Yeah.
But you can come to our restaurant and feed your whole family if you look at your menu, and get them out of there $50, $60.
Wow.
And I never forget this. What makes you humbled is when the gentleman or the woman can say, you know what, I'm so glad you're here, because you afford me to bring my family out to eat.
Wow.
And that's moving to me.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they're at McDonald's or Burger King, or we did a deal with Fletcher Elementary, never forget. And we brought a group of these kids in, and they've never been to a sit-down restaurant.
Wow.
Not because they didn't want to, the parents couldn't afford.
Couldn't afford it.
And so they didn't know how to act. They didn't know whether to go stand up in the window and order something, or, they'd get antsy in their chair, and they'd say, no, we're going to have a waitress come over, or a waiter, get your drink order. And so it was, kind of moving to see that, wow, we're in this day.
And that was educational for them.
Sure. And educational for me.
Wow.
So we always want to make sure that, where we're at, that it don't matter who you are or what color you are or where you came from, you're always welcome. Always.
So tell us where you're located at.
890 Amarillo in College.
Okay.
I tell everybody, a lot of the restaurants are into the West End.
Uh-huh.
And but if you would just drive, 10 minutes across town, 6 minutes across town, you won't have to wait. You just walk in, sit down.
Okay.
So I certainly appreciate y'all doing good things here at this church.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Well, listen, I want to thank Carlos for coming to what's happening in our neighborhood to talk about his restaurant, talk about the things that he did to get started. Now, a key thing, you must have a vision and write it down. The Bible is so clear. Write it down, make it plain so that those that read it can run with it. So those of you who have an entrepreneur spirit on the inside of you, write your vision down, make it plain so that when you present it to someone else, they can run with your vision. So listen, I want to thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you on the next time on what's happening in our neighborhood.